Well, today we have props.
We do. It's been fun setting it up.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to be able to show you some things here today that I think you'll be very interested in seeing. The purpose of this video is we want to highlight the dramatic differences between what Pet Stop, our Hidden Fence in Minnesota, what we offer, versus in particular our #1 competitor, which is Invisible Fence brand. So Courtney, what do you hear on the phone from people when you're talking to them most often?
A lot of times their first question is, will this hurt my dog?
Yep. Will my dog get hurt?
Mm-hmm.
We can assure you that #1, whatever your dog is going to feel by one of these fences is going to be far less harmful than it would be to be hit by a car or get into the rat poison behind somebody's garbage can. So this is probably the safest, most effective way to contain a dog or a cat for that matter.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to catch my notes here and make sure that I can stay on track. Pet Stop, our tagline is safer by design, and we've been doing this now since 1976 when John Pertell founded Invisible Fence brand. He ran that company until the 90s, and then he sold that company, and he joined with Pet Stop and Perimeter Technologies, and all the people that were with him at Invisible Fence at the time when he moved over rejoined him with Pet Stop and Perimeter. So we've been around the longest if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Invisible Fence brand is on their 5th owner.
Okay.
And that's a whole other discussion we'll get into another video. But needless to say, since 1976, for nearly 50 years, dogs have been contained at or near the boundary of the yard, which is right here, with an instantaneous correction that's very short and quick, but the dog respects it and they learn to avoid it. All this nonsense of what happens if they get outside the yard is all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you that here in a minute. These collars are nothing more than a glorified TENS unit.
Okay.
They are designed to, when you funnel that electronic stimulus through these small little tips here, when it gets up high enough, it's no longer going to be comfortable for the dog. So if you've ever used a TENS unit for muscle stimulation, and you know that can feel good when it's at a low level and the pads are pretty thick and wide, it's more of a massaging effect. Well, when you're using something like this, there is no massage effect. It's not going to feel good when it gets turned up. And so that's what the dog is feeling when these correction levels get high enough. So Pet Stop also uses digital modulation, which is it's called DM. It's a higher grade of frequency and frequency modulation that prevents false corrections. And so Pet Stop is the only one that has this technology.
That's cool. So
we want to point that out to you. And dog lovers, we really want you to pay close attention to this, because this what we're going to show you is a very visual, demonstrative, whatever you want to say, effect of how these systems work and knowing the difference between the brands. So I'll ask the question, Courtney, in your opinion, is it ever okay to correct a dog continuously for 10 to 30 seconds on the highest level?
No.
I don't know anybody in their right mind that would say yes to that question. I don't know under any circumstance why you would do that, or why any veterinarian would recommend or would agree with that. So, but by definition, the Invisible Fence brand Boundaries Plus system, that's exactly what it does.
Okay.
So we're going to show you a demonstration of it here.
Right.
And we've got Fluffy here. We're using a stuffed dog. This is a pretty good example of a stuffed Maltese little puppy, or Maltipoo, or whatever, about the same size as a puppy. And so as the dog would approach the boundary with Invisible Fence brand Boundaries Plus, they can get right up to the wire before the collar reacts, okay? So if Fluffy's running and crosses the line, the correction starts and it keeps going as Fluffy is on the other side. Now, the idea that Fluffy is going to get this far into the yard and go, oh, if I stop and turn around, I can make this shut off and come back into the yard, that's not going to happen.
I don't think so.
That is not going to happen.
No.
Fluffy's going to keep running until that correction stops, and Fluffy's somewhere way outside of the yard, okay? And very traumatized. If you're getting corrected at that high of a level for 10 seconds, it's not a good thing. So that's what the Boundaries Plus system does. Dog crosses a line, switch goes on, and then the dog gets to the end of the 10 seconds, it comes off. Then if Fluffy comes back, there is no recorrection because it's already timed out.
Okay.
But it's got to go 10 to 30 seconds before that can happen.
That's a really long time, because I've heard people, after they've had a invisible fence on-site consultation, they're just like, oh, they've been told they get like a free pass back in the yard, or it's a gentle reminder to come back, and I really don't see this as gentle.
No, you know, that's a completely, well, we won't even go there. To say gentle and to describe that is just absurdity. The free pass back in is equally as absurd, because what's free about 10 seconds of zapping at the highest level?
Yep.
So we just want you to understand that that's how that works, and to know that with Pet Stop, you would never have that problem, because our systems only correct the dog at the line or at the wire, and on either side it stops. Can you think of any situations where that might be a problem, Courtney?
Yes, I can. Unfortunately, if I'm, ready to go, get in the car, I have kiddos, or, just ready, have everybody packed up. If I back out of the driveway,
exactly.
Is that a problem?
You are inflicting this on your dog. If that's what you do and you back out of the driveway, Fluffy is going to be getting zapped for 10 seconds. And you're going to have the presence of mind in that situation to know what to do to stop it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very, very chaotic, unpleasant experience. So yes, absolutely, backing out of the driveway is probably the number one concern of accidental infliction of that. We know that most dogs are trained to pet fences to where they're going to, like we said initially, they react at the line and they back up. They don't run across the line. They stop and they back up because they either don't want to even feel it, or they get just a touch of it and they back up because it's programmed into them. So John Pertell, who is the president of Pet Stop, like I mentioned, he sold his controlling interest in Invisible Fence brand in the 90s. And he did that before the Boundaries Plus patent ever came into existence. John does not have very high thoughts about the whole idea of extended corrections. That's why Pet Stop does not have those as a primary feature. We do have the ability to do an extended correction for the super stubborn dogs, but it is done under a very controlled, in a very controlled way. And it's only in extreme cases that we would do that, and it would be with the homeowner's permission. And it would never be left on so that you could accidentally back out of your driveway and inflict it on your dog. So we just want to make sure you're aware of that. The best thing that we can say is that, consumer, be aware of what this is and how it works and how each system works, and then ask your vet the question, is it ever okay to zap my dog for 10 seconds continuously? And see what your vet says, because I am guessing that your veterinarian doesn't even understand how the Invisible Fence brand Boundaries Plus system works. They don't. If they did, I'm guessing they would not recommend it. Because I certainly can't imagine a veterinarian who would say that's a good idea. And then the other thing we want to point out too is this is all about public awareness. You as a consumer have a lot more power than we have. And we just encourage you to understand this and know, if you don't like the idea of that, then don't support it. I mean, that's really, where you spend your money, who you spend your money with, is a big factor. And do they continue to sell this thing for the next however many years? I would really like to see this feature go away. Because if you take that feature away from Invisible Fence brand, then they have nothing different than anybody else. It's all the same. It's all the same. And now you're dealing with just basically all the systems that work the same, and price and customer service and all the other variables where we clearly, hands down, are, well, you can read the reviews. So with that, we're going to let you go. We appreciate you watching this video, and we have a few more that we're going to do, so please watch the others. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. Thanks.
Thank you.